Next up, we are learning all about individually assigning and grading groups in Schoology, and that will be Angela Gama. Angela, are you ready to present? Angela, I don't know if I can hear you. You might have the wrong microphone selected.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Beautiful. All right, so I was just saying that I'm ready. Well, probably wasn't, but now I am. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So before I jump into my topic, which is the individually assigned and the grading groups in Schoology, since we just learned about the immersive reader from Matt here from Microsoft, I also wanted to share that the immersive reader is available in Schoology. We have it available in assignments, in our Schoology assessment questions. So it's really awesome that they integrated this really cool tool into Schoology for our students to use in the assignments. So it basically works the same way as within Microsoft, where they click on the immersive reader button there and they get all the distractions away and they have all the cool tools that we just saw for them to use within Schoology items. So super exciting to see that here. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about individually assigned and grading groups in Schoology. And before I dive in, I do want to kind of talk a little bit about the ISTE Educator standard for the designer. It's kind of like mirroring our ISTE standard for students. And my topic here and what we are going to see here with student choice and voice is also aligning with the educator piece, where teachers design authentic, learner-driven activities and environments that recognize and accommodate learner variability, which is also immersive reader going to help a lot with, right? So teachers are going to use technology to create, adapt, and personalize learning experiences that foster independent learning and accommodate learner differences and needs. So based on this standard, I wanted to share how we can work in Schoology to use the individually assigned and grading groups to differentiate our lessons with our students. And first, we want to define what differentiation is. And it means that you need to tailor your instructions to meet the specific needs of individual learners. Now, with this in mind, we need to know how are we going to do this using our tech tools. You can do this by doing regular assessments, learning where your students are at, and we do this in different ways, and I'll share a little bit of that too. And then we can group our students. Once we have that assessment data, you think about how you want to group your students for either instruction, activities, assignments in the unit. You can group based on skill or based on interest. And once you know what those groups are, you can assign students different work that still meets the curricular goals of your unit, but is adequately challenging, giving your students different prior knowledge skill. You can use the pre-assessment data to decide what lessons should be given to the full group versus smaller pull-out groups. And you can also use the pre-assessment data to decide which students might need more support throughout the process, or which might look like giving those learners graphic organizers, more check-ins, just more resources in general. So let's look at like something that would look like an academic classroom. So these are 3 student examples from a writing pre-assessment. And as you can see, there's a great deal of difference between students A, B, and C when it comes to their writing readiness. So to give them the same lessons and the same assignments would be kind of foolish, don't you think? It's kind of, you're going to not going to be challenging those that are a little bit further along than those that are not. So you can give some of the same lessons, but you can also have those common experiences as a class, but you can also pull a small group to address those skills that only about, let's say, 25% of the students still need instructional. So you will also vary the complexity of essay prompts for each group so that students have, a respectful task in front of them. So for those same 3 students, based upon the analysis of their pre-assessments, you can come into 3 different essay prompts. So for this unit here, there are 2 goals, as you can see, and all 3 prompts address these goals, even though some require additional research and more complexity of analysis. So the length of the essay was also varied to provide each group with a manageable but challenging task, but all students still wrote an argumentative essay that included body paragraphs, counter-argument, rebuttal, introduction, and conclusion. So since we're, talking about differentiation, assigning different, assignments to these students, you may think, where does choice come in? Well, choice is something that we value a great deal because we want to increase our learner engagement and effort, whether you're teaching children or, older students. Sometimes in differentiation, learners have choice and sometimes they don't. But even when they do have choice, you can embed differentiation by giving students guided choice based on their readiness for a specific topic. So let's see how this is going to look like in a classroom. So here's an example of how you can provide choice and differentiation, showing that you can have a happy marriage with these 2. And you can see here the different book options, and you can assign each one of these books a corresponding grade level equivalent. And then you can provide students with a choice. Let's say you can do it through a Google form or a quiz asking them, okay, based on the score or the difficulty level, you can select within a specific range. So if you're level 8, you can read anything between level 7 and 9. So that's where they can provide their answers and choose, which book they rather read. And now, based on these projects, based on the assignments, you can go ahead and create grading groups in Schoology once you know all that data, all that pre-assessment data. So the grading groups enables teachers to sort your students into group within a single course section. And graded materials can be assigned to these groups that you can create. When you assign something to a grading group, the entire item is only available to those students in the group. And the gradebook will only reflect scores for students who received the assignment. So you're not spending a whole lot of time having to exclude students from receiving a grade for specific assignments that they're not supposed to complete. So that's going to be awesome when you're assigning these assignments to only those specific grading groups. Now, here is where we come into creating our grading groups in Schoology. Once you're in the course, you go to the left-hand side menu and you find your members. Now, once you hit on that members tab, you're going to see on the right-hand side of that page the organized members into grading groups. And when you mouse over that specific item, you will see it convert into this. It's going to say add a grading group. So you can select this add grading group option, and then you can create your groups. You can name them and group your students according to goals or to projects. Let me just go ahead and jump into my Schoology and show you here quickly how you can create that members grading groups. So here I'm going to go into organize members into grading groups. You're going to click add grading group. You're going to name your grading group. So let's say, I don't know, blue team, however you want to name your groups. Here in this search field, you can search by student ID number or just by typing their name to quickly see them and select them. So you can go ahead and click through the students that you like to include in that grading group and then go ahead and create that grading group. You will see under each individual student the grading group that they belong to. And on the right-hand side of this same members page, you will see all the different grading groups that you created, and you can go back and edit the group if you wish to do so. So super easy, super quick to create these. I know some of you may be wondering, hey, can I just copy and paste the list of student ID numbers or import a list? And unfortunately, Schoology at this moment does not support that feature. You need to go in and select one by one which students you want to include in that grading group. Now, we take a look at how you individually assign items to these grading groups or to individual students. So I know I showed you just a moment ago how we can create grading groups, but if you still want to use the individually assign feature, you don't necessarily need to use grading groups. You can assign specific resources or assignments if you're doing, you're adding scaffolding to those students that need it. You don't need to have them in a grading group. So in each item that you create in Schoology, you will see under the options category these 3 dots that if you mouse over them, you will see that it says individually assign. So once you click on those 3 dots, you will be able to start typing the name of the student or the name of the grading group in the field to assign that specific assignment to that grading group or that individual student. So here's an example of what it looks like once you start typing a few characters, all the matches, you can go ahead and select that from the list. Now, students that are assigned to these items, they will only see those that are assigned to them. So that also is going to clean the materials list so that they only see those that pertain to them. And that's going to be seamless, and it's not going to kind of make them feel, bad because they're receiving a little bit more support. It's going to be seamless. It's going to be like they're accessing the same assignment as their peers. So there's not that issue in your class as well. Now, when you're doing your grading groups or individually assigned, it's going to look a lot like this if you're going to do this with multiple assignments instead of having it look like this. So I mentioned that once you've assigned something to an individual or a grading group, it kind of blocks the grading field for those students that is not assigned to, so you don't inadvertently assign a grade of something when it's not assigned to that student. All right, and before I wrap up with my topic, I also want to share that if you like to individually assign items for, projects for if you have students with special needs and have IEPs that require additional resources or anything like that, you don't have to individually assign each item that you need to add to them, that you need to make available to that student or group. You can also individually assign entire folders so that everything that lives in the folder automatically gets assigned to that grading group or that individual or that group of students. So when you create the folder, it may be like you can't individually assign because I don't see that little, those 3 little dots here. But once you create the folder, you go to the gear icon, you go to edit, or even you can see it here in this menu, but actually it's in this menu here. You can go ahead and select individually assign, and then you can select the students that you like to have this folder available or assign it to, or the grading groups here. So you can go through the process of assigning that folder for that grading group, those students, and then anything you put in that folder will inherit that individually assigned rule that you set in the folder level.
Well, I was about to finish. I think I was done with my part. I'm happy that it wasn't, everyone who was unable to hear me. But now I'm gonna hand it over to Matthew, I guess, who can hear me. Not sure if Alexandra can hear me still.